morning. It's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself. And today I want to talk about fear. I want to talk about underlying fear today. So underlying fear is different than being afraid of something. Being afraid of snakes, being afraid of needles, being afraid of heights, being afraid of a situation, being afraid of death, being afraid of COVID, being afraid, okay? So being afraid is a real thing, fear is a real thing, but this is underlying fear that the video is going to be about today. And it's different, and it's insidious, and it's so harmful to your overall mental, emotional, and mostly physical health that we really need to understand what this underlying baseline of fear is. This all ties into some of my videos on the fight or flight nervous system. So if you haven't seen my videos on fight, flight, and freeze, please go watch those, okay? I have a number of those, and they're really important because this is what I'm talking about. I am talking about a nervous system that is so sensitive, so subtle, so on guard, so alert, so reactive to any type of physical, environmental, emotional stimulus, okay, that it is turned on and activated. And what's happening is when you're motivated by fear, I want to say that again, when you're motivated by an underlying fear, it can cause enormous problems for your recovery. Your nervous system has always been and will always be motivated by fear. It's always in survival mode. It's always looking and scanning for danger. And it's always doing what it can, whenever it can, to keep you safe. So in a sense, your nervous system is already innately and biologically driven by an underlying fear response. So a lot of people will tell you that we're either motivated by pleasure or pain, but I think a lot of us are just motivated by fear, okay? Because that's what the nervous system is, through millions of years of evolution, is taught to be motivated by. And being aware and responding and driven and motivated by fear helps us to survive, not only as a human being, but as a species on this planet. There's no guilt here. There's nothing that you're doing wrong. This is happening. And it's almost so subconscious and so fast that you cannot control it. It's happening to you. So I want to use a couple examples today to illustrate what I'm talking about. And the first being COVID. So I read an article the other day. I'm sure that all of you have seen the article. I think it was in the New York Times. It might have been in the LA Times. But anyways, it is from a doctor that said he's running out of compassion for the unvaccinated, okay? The article goes down as to get the shot. You don't deserve his compassion if you don't have the shot. And if you think you can survive this pandemic without getting it, then you are wrong. The virus will find you and basically you will die. That's the message, okay? And that whole article is meant to motivate the fear in us to do what he wants you to do, which is get vaccinated. But it's meant, and it absolutely does, go right to the very deepest part of our nervous system, which responds to this fear motivation, right? And we automatically think, I want to be safe. I don't want the virus to find me. I don't want to die. I better do this. But I don't like articles. I don't like situations that motivate by fear. Okay, it's wrong. First of all, it's wrong because it plays on people's deepest fears, deepest vulnerabilities, and their nervous systems. You know, in order to, I do believe it was a political article, not an article out of compassion. Can you get the vaccine? I want you to live, or whatever. It wasn't written in that vein. It was written to make people feel fear in order to respond a certain way to go out and get it. And this is what's wrong with, and I'm not talking about vaccines here, but this is what's wrong with how we respond to everything in our lives and society. There are people There are environments, there are situations, there are life events and relationships and problems and illnesses and deaths that legitimately are fearful, legitimately are filled with fear, right? We're always full of fear when it comes to the unknown, when it comes to our health, when it comes to our safety, when it comes to our loved ones, when we don't know if we're capable or if we can survive, or if we're strong enough, or if we're courageous enough, or if we're lucky enough, whatever it is. So there's a lot of situations in life which are just fearful to human beings. And then there are situations, then there are people, and your own mind, mostly included here, your inner thoughts that come up that act like an inner critic, an inner judge, and then we have the outer critics and the outer judges of the world, other people, right? So we have the others, and then we have the internal self, both questioning, adding to the fear, trying to motivate by fear, right? Saying, you better do this or you better not do this if you want to be safe, if you want to make it, if you want to be strong, if you want to recover, if you want to, and when you have other people adding on to your own internal thoughts or your own internal thoughts swirling around you and motivating by fear, we react faster, and fear-based responses are never an accurate response, are never good for you. Okay, sometimes yes, you can take a fear-based reaction, okay, run away, do something, fight, flee, whatever it is. I mean, you're trained to do these types of things. But when we act and respond out of fear, we often get it wrong. We often react too quickly. We often react too severely. We often react without thinking and processing all the information, our thoughts, our emotions, right? Without processing things through. And when we do that, we can either make things really good, really fast, right? Get to safety really fast, or we can make an error in judgment and make things really bad really fast, and then live with a lot of regret. Why did I listen? Why did I react like that? Why did I overreact like that? Why did I respond like that? I've made a mess, right? I've made things worse. So often we can respond, we make things worse, we make a mess, we dig ourselves in further, we harm ourselves or put ourselves in more danger. Okay, this can ultimately happen when you're responding out of fear. You don't have time to breathe, calm the nervous system, and make a decision from a place, a neutral place, from a place of calm, from a nervous system that's working properly and is in parasympathetic mode. Right? It's a much different decision than if we make one from sympathetic system. That's why I like to say, people like to say never react in anger, right? Take those 5 quick breaths, like breathe deep before you respond to somebody who has just said something horrible to you, and don't react in anger, because sometimes you blow up or you say something you're going to regret, right? You can make a situation much worse and then you can't go back. So I like to say, when it's fear, it feels innate that we must make this decision quickly, because it often feels like our life is at stake, and it feels so primal, okay? Just as primal as when we're reacting out of anger. But I think we need even longer, more than 5 deep breaths before we respond to fear. We need to literally come out of fear if we can, unless we're literally being held by a gunpoint, being chased by a tiger, right in the middle of an actual traumatic experience or event that requires our quick response and reaction in order to try to save our life. This is a life-threatening situation. Then we have time to bring it down, to breathe, to be calm, to settle the mind, to drown out other people's voices, to breathe, to process, to think it through, and think, what is really going to help me in this situation? Do I really need to react like that? Do I really want to react like that? And so For example, that article about the COVID article was meant to inspire people to rush out and get the vaccine as if they're being chased by a tiger right this very second, as if their life depends on it, as if they will never be able to hide or come through it if they don't do it, and as if they will not only their fate is in their own hands, but if something bad happens and they catch the vaccine, they will have nobody to care, no compassion, no support, basically be abandoned, right? This goes right to the heart. This is what's wrong with this article. This goes right to the heart of motivating through fear. And this is how we live our life. This is how our inner critic pushes us to respond to fear. And this is how the outer critics and the outer people in the world, right, how those voices and thoughts get in there to help us respond quickly to a fear-based situation through manipulation, guilt, and feeling like our life is at stake, our survival's at stake, and that we will be abandoned, cut out from the crowd, not loved, not accepted if we don't do something. Okay? That's like peer pressure. That's going back to high school. If you don't do this, you'll be cut out from the group. Okay? So it goes right to the very center and heart of us. So I want you to see that one example of being motivated by fear. Now, it doesn't matter whether or not you get the vaccine. That's not the point here. The point is when we're driven by fear, right, as if our life depends on it, and we're motivated by fear, either by our own inner critic or by somebody else's, we often can make bad decisions that aren't thought through properly, and they're just a reaction and a response to that fear motivation. So just to quickly wrap up the vaccine talk, you're either the person that's motivated, you've had some personal experiences, or you have a deep belief that the vaccine is going to hurt you, or you've read enough articles on the one side that says this vaccine is going to cause adverse reactions, there's death, there's all kinds of things that could go wrong, and you're motivated by that fear. Or on the other side, you're watching the death toll go up, you're watching the news, you're motivated by people like that article and people kind of telling you to do this or you won't be safe, and you're motivated by that and you're gonna go get it, right? But you could equally be as scared of the vaccine as you are by getting it, right? You don't want to get COVID, but you don't want to get the vaccine, and you're equally scared. And then you don't know what to do because you're not coming down on one side or the other. Fear isn't motivating you in one direction or the other. And in that case, people get stuck. That's what we call a frozen state. So if you go watch my videos on fight, flight, or freeze, this is what happens when you're equally motivated by fear on both sides and you legitimately feel trapped by life and there's no good way out. And so we just stop. We freeze, right? Completely frozen, unable to process or make a decision or know what to do. Okay, and that is a frozen state. When we're in a frozen state, we often feel helpless, overwhelmed, break down in tears, need a rescuer, want somebody to come make the decision for us, to save us. We don't feel self-confident. We feel like we're completely abandoned, completely incapable, no self-power whatsoever in order to make this decision, just completely crippled and needing, like a victim and needing help. Okay, so I want to move on to my second example. I'm going to talk about my dog, my little dog right here. You can see her. Pixie. It's the cutest dog. She's afraid of a lot of things. She's driven by fear, okay? And fear of other dogs is one of them. When she was small, she didn't even have an incident, but we had a great big dog that kind of jumped and played all over her, and she was terrified. She never got over it. Now every dog she sees, she growls, she snaps, she lashes out at, she barks at, she loses her mind, really. And you would think that she's angry, aggressive, mean, and it's embarrassing. And when I pull the leash to say, no, Pixie, no, every time, it makes it worse. So in this situation, my dog has gone into fight, right? Not flight, not whatever, not freeze, but fight. Now it appears that she's mean and nasty and aggressive. But that's just her response. That's just her reaction. What is the stimulus underneath? It's fear. Okay, she was motivated by fear, to react quickly, and she doesn't even realize that this dog in front of her is small, gentle, wagging its tail, and friendly, because she has been motivated by fear into a fight response without even being able to calm, settle down, breathe, and evaluate each situation for what it is before she can make that decision. And there's no rationalizing with a dog, right? So I pull the leash, I say no, 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 and all she feels is tension, more anger on the other side of the leash. So her instinct is not to be kinder, but to be more aggressive. But if I pick her up, I step her back from the situation. I talk lovingly to her, kindly to her. I can soothe her down a little bit, and I feel her heart beating and racing and going so fast. That's fear, right? That's fear. So you think that I would respond that way every single time, that I would step her far back, I would speak to her calmly, I would pet her, I would soothe her down, I would let it go until her heartbeat slows down, and then we continue walking. But often what ends up happening when there's a little dog or a friendly face and she's barking at them, I pull the leash and scold her and say no, because I'm motivated by my own fear response, which is that person over there is going to judge me, is going to criticize, internally criticize and judge me for having a bad dog, a mean dog, an overactive dog, and for me not doing anything, right? So we're motivated by our own personal, or I might be in a hurry, or I might be irritated, or I might be frustrated, and I might react with that response instead of what this dog needs, which is kindness, soothing down, reassurance that it's safe, because it's not acting, fighting, and aggressively because that's its first response, and that's just innately who that dog is, because my dog is lovely. She's wonderful, she's sweet, she's affectionate, she's scared, okay? And she's been motivated by fear. Same thing with children. When they throw a fit, when they have a little rage, when they storm out, when they yell, when they react, right? We often snap back to that because that feels threatening for us. It feels like we're in danger somehow. Our irritation or our threat as being a good parent or whatever goes up, and we respond quickly to their tantrum or breakdown or anger reaction with more anger, with more, you've got to stop that, you know. And what they really need at that moment is to be taken aside, to be soothed down, to be told they're safe, to be told it's okay, right? They're in a fear response. And so my last example that I want to talk about today is when this directly relates to your chronic illness, your chronic pain, whether it's fibromyalgia, it's chronic fatigue syndrome, it's irritable bowel syndrome, it's Crohn's, it's chronic pain, it's any kind of condition, syndrome, diagnosis that's chronic and constant and fills us with fear, okay? And we don't want it. We want it and need it to go away because it ruins our quality of life. When we try everything that we can and we respond to this condition with what we believe are the right things to do. Okay, we go to the doctors, we go to the alternative doctors, we try this, we try that, we experiment, we do everything, and we're left feeling like nothing's working. Our fear rises. Our fear response rises. With every treatment failed, our fear goes up. What if I can't get through it, right? At the beginning, we're like, oh, we're gonna go to the doctor and get help and it'll be behind us. If that doesn't work out, you know, when we're on our 5th, 6th, or even 20th or 30th doctor or treatment course and it's still not working out, our fear exponentially grows. And why wouldn't it? You are trying to escape a condition, a sensation, a symptom, a feeling that you feel is life-threatening, ruining your life, and you cannot do it. That induces copious amounts of fear, okay? And then you begin to be driven by the fear itself and lose the ability to make rational, clear-headed decisions because you're responding in a fear-based response system. And everything that you do that doesn't work out, you do the next one with a more fear-based driven response. It's more intense, it's more erratic, it's more responsive and reactive, it's more fear-based until it becomes a desperate response. You're drowning. Literally, what does a drowning person do? If you are drowning in a water somewhere, what does drowning people do? They try to grab onto something solid. It could be a life raft, it could be a piece of wood, it could be a rock, it could be another person, it could be anything. And you will grab on as tight as you can and pull whatever is helping you down with it. That is why they say never reach out and grab a drowning person, no matter how strong of a swimmer you are, without the proper life aids with you, because they are stronger than you and they will pull you under, not because they're a mean, angry, vicious murderer, but because they are reacting out of desperation and fear, and a drowning person will grab whatever is in front of them and hold onto it and pull onto it and pull themselves up to survival. And so when you respond in this fashion, like you're drowning, to every next doctor, next protocol, next thing that you're trying with desperation, and you grab onto it and cling to it, you're reacting out of more and more fear and desperation. And there's literally no blame or shame involved in that, because it's a biological response. So this is the part I want to caution you about. This is the part I want you to see clearly. When you go to doctors, like when you go to any kind of a doctor or anything with your condition and your problem, and you're this far down the road and you're this fueled and motivated by fear, underlying fear you don't even realize, you're thrashing around, reacting and responding to fear that you're never going to get better, right? It's a scary place to be. And when a doctor looks at you and says, you have X, Y, and Z, this is your condition, and it's for life, you will never get better. The best you can do is manage it. Pain management, symptom management. You know, it's likely to be a long road. Take this, do this, and if you don't, it's probably going to get worse. That doctor doesn't realizing it, but what they're doing is they're motivating through fear, because you're already drowning. And so when a doctor or somebody in the position of authority looks at you and says, if you don't take this, you're probably going to get worse or not get better, you are desperate, motivated, and that's why a lot of people end up on a long prescription list. It's no fault of their own, okay? Because why wouldn't you grab onto it and put it in your mouth, right? Why wouldn't you? It's desperation. But when those pills turn back around and hurt you or harm you more, or don't do what's promised, and your fear grows more and your disillusionment grows. You feel isolated, lonely, abandoned, unloved, uncared for, right? The very people who promised you something would work did not. And not only did it not work, but it turned on you. It made you worse. And now they're nowhere around to help you up anymore. So one of the worst things I believe that a doctor can do is tell somebody that this condition's for life, or that they're not going to get better. Because that is not true. A doctor doesn't know that. And if you ask a doctor and you sit down, they don't know. They don't know, right? They know what's been done in the studies. They know what they're recommended to do for certain conditions, but they don't know if you're going to heal or not heal. They don't know if taking that is going to help you or not help you. They really don't know. It's a practice. Medicine is a practice. Okay, they're practicing, they're trying, they're giving it to you, and they're watching to see, just like you. But they're not doing it from fear, right? They're in parasympathetic. They're making calm decisions. You are reacting out of fear, and you're thrashing around. And when somebody looks at you and says, you have this thing, and you might not get better, and you have to live with it forever, you have now, been harmed. I feel you've now been psychologically really harmed. And now you are feeling, not only reacting out of fear, but a lot of people give up in this situation, and they go down into hopelessness. They give up. They think, what's the point? Why bother? I'm going to be like this forever. And they sink down into victimhood. And if you haven't seen my videos on victimhood, and this is where you are, please go watch them. Okay, I have a few about victimhood. Okay, being the victim, because it's not your fault. You've legitimately gone from fear, which is a fight, flight, or freeze response, into giving up, into, you've gone from desperation, a giving up, a giving in sort of response. And feeling like a victim, feeling hopeless, right? Despair, helpless, like a victim, is like the worst emotional state that you can be in, because you don't have enough energy behind you to push you up in order to help you fight, or to help you have some courage, and to get enough hope to muster some determination or motivation to try something else and to continue on, right? And that's really all that people need, is to know that they can continue on, to know that there's hope that they can get better. Because feeling like a victim, feeling like you can't, takes your personal power away. And so I don't like when people are motivated by fear, and when people in the positions of authority motivate through fear and get people into a hopeless, frightened, fearful, or like they're going to be abandoned, or like they're victims state, because it takes your personal power away, and you absolutely need your personal power to heal. Again, if you haven't seen any of my videos on personal power and taking back your personal power, please go watch that, okay, in combination with the victimhood, because you need your personal power intact in order to heal. Hear that sentence if you don't hear anything else from this video. You need to take your personal power back in order to have enough hope, enough courage, enough determination and motivation to keep going. It will help you overcome, and it will help you rise up. Okay? And that's where we want to be. That's how we need to heal. So if you are living in fear, if you've been motivated by fear of criticism of other people, fear of judgment, fear of being called bad or abandoned or shunned or shamed from the crowd, if you feel fear, that you've been motivated by fear, and you're thrashing about and you're making bad decisions because you're reacting and responding too quickly, too desperately, right? If you have been motivated by fear to the point that you feel like you've given up and you've given away your personal power, you feel like this is it for you, and you've lost hope, you've lost your way, you have no more courage, no more hope, no more motivation to climb up, to take back your power and try again, then I want you to hear me, okay? Fear is normal. We are all driven biologically by fear. There's no shame in this. But you must, just like my dog, you must calm that central nervous system down, the fight or flight system. You must not react quickly. You must react steadily. You first must get your system in parasympathetic mode, calm, clear, and comfortable, in order to make and process the information to make the right decision, okay? Let me tell you something a little bit about the fear response, about fight, flight, or freeze, that I think you're gonna find really interesting. So when you're legitimately in a fight, flight, freeze response that is life-threatening, okay? You have a murderer who stormed your house and is about to hold you at gunpoint and or rape you. Or you're in the woods, in the forest, and you're about to be attacked by a grizzly bear, okay? Just take any situation that is life-threatening and imminent, that's fueled by your fear, okay? If you were in that situation, okay, in any of those situations, first of all, you're so deep in fear, you don't even hear. If there was like a crowded room full of 10 people just sitting there spectating you, watching you, and saying either run or lie down or hit or move, or they're calling out instructions to you, right? Instructions on how to either get away, to fight, to flee, what you should do, should you play dead. They're calling out instructions. But when you're really, really fueled with fear, you are gonna do what your body does. You don't even really, truly have enough control over your own body to do what you choose to do, but your body is going to respond how it feels best to keep you survive. So you don't have enough time to process, should I run? Should I lay down and play dead? Should I fight? Right? A lot of times we don't have time to process that. It's within a split second, your nervous system, this deep, deep nervous system that has been active your entire life, practicing for this very moment in all these situations that are not real and not truly life-threatening. It's been practicing, it's been turned on, it's been fired, it's been ready for this exact moment. And now that when you're in this moment, it's going to take over. And before you can process what you should do or have thoughts about how you should respond or react, it is going to make the choice for you. You're going to find that you don't have control over whether you fight, run away, or freeze, okay? It is going to be quick. Your body is going to follow what your nervous system leads it to do, and you're going to find yourself running. You're going to find yourself literally playing dead or passed out on the floor, or you're going like frozen, cowering, or you are going to find yourself fighting with the most strength that you could ever imagine coming forth out of you, okay? And that is a true survival response. And so it doesn't matter in that situation if you feel criticized or judged, or if you're not doing what that person says or that person says, you're not even gonna hear them. Your body is fighting and responding for its life in that moment, doing what it has prepared its whole life to do. And it doesn't care if it's judged or criticized, or if that person thinks you should do something else. It is going to react and respond in that moment however it feels best to keep you alive, to keep you surviving. Your body is making the choice for you, and you're either going to survive or you're not. And that's the truth. And every other single situation that is not imminent, dangerous, and life-threatening is just your nervous system getting ready for that moment. And so that is the situation where we aren't truly needing to react in that fashion. So we're listening. What do others think I should do? What are the voices in my head telling me? Or my emotions, right? We're listening, we're trying to gain information. Am I gonna be abandoned? Am I gonna be judged? Am I gonna be criticized? What does that person think? What does that person think? You're just gonna be motivated by fear. Fear. What if I this? What if I die? What if I get worse? What if this happens? What if that happens, right? We're motivated by fear, okay? But when it comes down to it, when it comes right down to it, if you were in a life or death situation, your nervous system would just take over regardless, okay? It would try to keep you safe one way or the other and fight, flight, or freeze. And everything else is just you being motivated by fear, by varying degrees of fear. And you should never make a decision under those circumstances. If your body doesn't make the decision for you, meaning it doesn't choose you to fight, flight, or flee, and you actually have some free will in the situation where you can stop, breathe, think it through, rational, calm, really look into your soul, right? Because it's not about reacting by fear anymore. We don't need to react out of that fear. What we need to do is get really quiet and make our decisions from what our inner voice is telling us. And other people may try to sway you and say, well, your inner voice doesn't know, and I'm the doctor and I know, and you've got to do X, Y, and Z, or you're gonna die, or we're not gonna like you anymore, or whatever it is. Or you're gonna have to feel all this guilt because we told you to do it, and if you don't do it after we told you to do it, then you have nobody to blame but yourself, right? That's the kind of guilt that can motivate people, and it's wrong, okay? That is the wrong way to make the decision, and I'm telling you, okay? When you have a choice to get quiet and to make a decision, and to realize that you don't need to be motivated by fear, you can get out of the fear response. Please watch my videos on fight, flight, or freeze and how to get out of that. I want you to sit quietly, not because your insides know everything, not because there isn't people out there who know better than you and know more, and you shouldn't be listening to them and you shouldn't get information from them, right? If you're in parasympathetic mode, gathering information is one of the best things that you can do. You can calmly and proactively gather information. But if you're gathering information when you're in sympathetic mode, when you're in a fear response, you're reacting and responding, to all this information being thrown at you without having a chance to filter it and process it through your own heart and soul. And how do you feel about it? Because how you feel about it is as important as what the information is itself, as to whether how accurate it is, okay? Because if it doesn't sit right with you, if you feel off about it, that's when people say, I had an intuition or a hunch and I didn't listen to it, right? If you have an icky feeling, a lump in your throat, a feeling of sadness or guilt or shame, or if you notice that you're doing something or deciding on something that doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel right, you feel conflicted about it, internally conflicted. The world is saying do this, you inside are saying, I don't believe it, I don't want to. If there's a part of you that doesn't want to, then stop and listen to that part. Because whether it's the best thing in the world for 99.9% of people, if you don't feel good about it, that is going to harm you in your healing going forward, because you're giving that piece of your personal power away, saying, I think I feel this way, I think I know this, but I don't want you to leave me, but I don't want you to judge me, but I don't want you to criticize me, but I don't want you to think bad of me, but I don't really know. I'm confused, I'm lost, I'm a victim, maybe you know more, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I don't know enough, I'm not sure, help me, take care of me, right? We're starting to give our power away in these situations. And choosing with your own sense of personal power intact is one of the most important things that you can do when you're chronically ill and when you're living with chronic symptoms that nobody can help anyway, okay? You've been to all the people. So you need to realize that you need to take your personal power back. You need to stop giving your power away and listening to other people, okay? They had their chance, they failed you. I'm not trying to be hard here. It's not like nobody has information that will help you. Get out of fight or flight. Gather information when you're in parasympathetic mode. Sit with the information that you've gathered. Process it in a way, how do I feel about this information? How does my heart feel about it? How does my soul feel about it? Can I live with it? Can I live with myself if I do this or I don't do this? Right, that's your barometer for making decisions, not based out of fear, not reacting. It's like, how do I feel about it? And if you're finding that you're motivated in fear the other way, like I'm just afraid, I'm afraid to listen to them, I'm afraid they're gonna hurt me, I'm afraid they're gonna harm me, and you have all these conspiracy theories and you're afraid of everything, that's also, you're in the fight or flight response. You have to get yourself out of that. Sit calmly, breathe, meditate in parasympathetic mode. What do you feel? What do you believe? What do you want? What feels right to you? What feels good? What can you live with? What can you live with? Right? What consequences of your choices, choosing one choice, making a choice, not making a choice, what can you personally live with? Okay, what feels the most right to you? What do you resonate the most with? I'm not saying what is the rightest, what is the rightest for you, okay? Because that's what matters. That's how you take pieces of your personal power back. And when you gather all your personal power back, and when you're making decisions from a place of power and courage and determination, and you're not fueled and motivated by fear anymore, then you start to make real gains and strides to getting your health back, to healing yourself, to overcoming, right, these chronic conditions. You're not responding and reacting out of fear or a nervous system that is broken and gone haywire and misaligning and misfiring, right? You have the wherewithal to calmly retrain your brain and retrain your processes and do the work, the inner healing work, and uncover subconscious patterns and beliefs, right, that are holding you back. Can't do that when you're living in fear. Your nervous system doesn't need to get ready, right? We're always like getting ready to get ready. It will work. You don't need to sharpen the tool and hold it ready to fire. You don't need to cock the gun and stand there all night long on watch. okay? When needed, when truly needed in a life or death situation, every single mammalian nervous system will fire, and you will respond with fight, flight, or freeze. You will respond, you will go into action in one form or another in order to survive. And your nervous system will do that for you. So thank your nervous system for being there when you want it, and tell it you don't need to practice. You don't need to fire it up. You don't need to continue to help it get ready. You don't need to be on guard. You can set down your weapons. You can give up. You can set down the cocked gun. You can give up your night watch. Okay? Sit still. Get clear. Breathe. Feel. Look inside. Get calm. Get your breathing calm. Feel at peace. And then ask yourself, am I motivated? Am I being motivated by fear? By fear of rejection or abandonment or other people's thinking or thoughts? By fear of not being good enough or smart enough? By wanting someone to swoop in and help me or save me? By fear of something that is underlying, that is not really my own? Is that motivating this decision? Is it motivating my nervous system to act this way, to respond this way, to make choices I don't otherwise feel empowered by? It's only when we make decisions that we feel good about, that we feel empowered by, and that we feel like we can live with the consequences either way. You want to help them empower you, take you forward, because healing is healing is inside, okay? And it's sometimes you can be helped by the outside, but the transformation and the metamorphosis comes from inside. How you look at your decisions, how you look at life, how you're adapting and reacting and responding to your life and your nervous system. And so I want to leave you with a quote. When you're sitting, right? When you're sitting, you're in parasympathetic mode. I want to leave you this quote that I sometimes think of, and I believe it's by Viktor Frankl. And if you haven't read that book, I have a video on that book. You can go see. But it goes something like, and don't quote me here, but it goes something like, between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. And within that space is our personal power. Something like that. Anyways, ponder on that when you're sitting. Right? In between the stimulus and the response is a space. And that space is where we find our personal power. It's where our personal power is basically where the soul can be heard, can emerge. And so that's why we sit. That's why we calm. That's why we settle. That's why we don't react. We wait. When we're in parasympathetic mode, when we've had time to, that space in between, that's where we can reflect. That's where we can process. And that's where we can find the voice inside, right? That needs to be heard. And sometimes my heart gets really broken because I know how deep shame is as well. And it's all connected, right? These lower vibrations are all connected. But people can be shamed. I mean, shame is such a low vibration that people can be shamed into doing something that they're scared of or that they fear just to be accepted. Because at the end of the day, everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to matter. Everybody else wants to feel understood, cared for. Just everybody wants to feel part of the one, right? Unified. And I get really mad. And so this is just a little tangent I'm going to go off on. So I'm just going to use the analogy of cancer and of the vaccine. I'm going to use two analogies here. But when somebody gets cancer, okay, the collective and, what the narrative is go to treatments, listen to your doctor, get the chemotherapy, get the radiation, get whatever you need to get, take the drugs that the doctor gives you. And we all love you. We all support you. We all give the big middle finger to cancer. We're going to run races for you. We're going to lift you up. And if you die from the treatments themselves or from the cancer, if it doesn't work and you die, we're going to say that you are brave, brave soul who did everything they could. They fought a great battle and they did everything that they could, and they're in peace now, and that we love and respect and hold this person up as a hero. It just makes me want to cry even just thinking about it. Because if the person chooses to do natural healing, people judge them, criticize them, out of fear. They don't understand the decisions. And then if the person dies, instead of looking at them with value and with grace and saying that they did the best that they could, we're going to say they didn't do everything they could. They didn't do everything they could. They didn't try hard enough, right? They die feeling like that sense that they didn't do right or that they were a failure. And that breaks my heart, because you could reverse that, right? What about the person listening to the doctor taking the chemotherapy and the radiation that could actually kill them? And we praise them up when maybe they didn't do enough. They didn't do enough natural healing or whatever. And so it's just a different perspective, and people are very afraid underneath of that perspective, because even dying, we're not as afraid of as feeling rejected, feeling abandoned, feeling unloved, feeling unvalued, feeling like we didn't do the best that we could for the people that we love. And so that breaks my heart, that narrative. Likewise, I see it happening again with the vaccine. And it's like, if you get the shot, you're good. You're protecting society. Even if the vaccine harms you, even if you have adverse reactions, and even if you die, you at least took one for the team. You did everything you could to protect yourself and society against COVID, and you're thought of as a hero. And if you get COVID, even after you're vaccinated, we say, oh, well, this person was unlucky and they got COVID anyways. And if they die after being double vaxxed, they did everything that they could. They got the vaccine. But if somebody chooses not to be vaccinated, they're looked down at or judged, or maybe they're putting themselves and the world in a dangerous position, right? No one's looking at the other side. And the narrative is that if you get COVID, you deserve it. If you die, it's your own fault. You didn't do hard enough. You didn't do good enough. You didn't try. And that's completely against, that's an underlying fear that we all have. And so this current is running through medical treatments, from cancer to the COVID vaccine and everything in between, right? Mental health conditions. If you have depression or anxiety, you go to the doctor and they prescribe you a benzodiazepine or an antidepressant, and they say, take it. If you take it, you're doing everything you can for yourself, your family, society, and we're going to be proud of you, right? Even though those same medications could kill you, harm you, leave you disabled. But if you don't take them and you're still having anxiety attacks, well, you haven't done everything that you can for yourself. And it's just this narrative to provide guilt to people. It instills a sense of guilt and shame in people who have a different perspective, people who are trying in a different way, people who still have value and are making choices that resonate with them, their soul, right? They're not reacting. They're making a decision for what they believe is right. And, but this fear, this underlying motivation, a fear of being abandoned, rejected, disowned, and not valued, not loved, and even having your death or your immortality and your legacy be, you didn't try hard enough or you weren't good enough in some way, sort of shrouded with guilt and shame, is heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, especially after what I've been through. It's a first-hand trigger for me and reminder of the shame and the guilt that I felt going through what I went through that was of no fault of my own, and destroyed my entire life and every fabric of my health. And I felt shame. I felt like the tables were turned on me, and it's wrong. And so You know, you can't do things out of fear, but you also can't do things out of shame or perceived guilt or judgment or abandonment, right? These are basic needs that we all want met. And it's hard to listen to that voice sometimes, to do what our soul is telling us, to trust ourselves, to love ourselves, to give ourselves validation and acceptance and self-love. And, but ultimately, sometimes that's going to be, you know, sometimes you're going to go along with the collective, and sometimes you're going to get hurt going along with the collective, and sometimes you're going to go along with the collective and you're going to be saved by going along with the collective. But regardless of whether or you do or you don't, you need to look inside. You need to find out what feels right to you and do what feels right to you, and stop being motivated by this underlying fear, this underlying pressure and shame and guilt and fear of abandonment and judgment. And I get it, it's hard, but those are some examples, you know, of the medical system, I believe, gone wrong, and how we're shaming, blaming, manipulating, and in some cases tricking, hiding truth, whatever it is, from people who should be able to have information on both sides and then sit quietly and make a decision that feels right for them and be loved and hold just as much value and just as much respect and be thought of as having just as much value and care, and they matter just as much as anyone else. Everyone is doing the best they have, the best they can with the information they have, and that's the long and short of it. We're all doing the best that we can, and we need to be supportive and kind and loving and empathetic, encouraging to one another, and we need to just love, to love others because they're human, because they're trying, and realize that everyone has their own journey, and that's okay. That is okay. We don't need to be scared of something that is different than what we believe, right? We don't need to live with fear. Fear will never help you get closer to who you are, and will never help you get closer to solving your problems, healing your emotions, healing your body, healing your soul, right? You have to make choices from a different place. So if you haven't yet subscribed, I hope that you please do so, and I will see you in the next video.